So a lot of people think Azur Lane is a very easy game, and I won't lie, that is partially true. But it does have its difficult moments in this game. Whether you guys may know or not, it does have moments where this game can be pretty crazy. Whether that's new bosses, the release of new campaign maps, it can be kind of tricky. So in this video, I'll be talking about the difficulty of this game from start to finish, and how some of you guys may interpret the difficulty of this game thinking it's Azur Lane, guys, it's very easy. If you want a hard game, go play like, I don't know, what's a hard game these days, Arknights or something, right? So let's get right into it. So early game, when you guys first start off, you guys may think this game is pretty difficult because you guys aren't familiar with the whole system and how the game works or whatever. I'll tell you guys, to the most part, if you guys are new to this game, you treat this game basically like Nikkei. If you guys don't know what Nikkei is, it's an auto game, Tomodachi game. It's an idle game essentially, right? And to beat content, you have to be stronger than said power level in order to clear it very easy. That works kind of like Azur Lane. If you guys don't know, early maps we have like level 10 stuff, level 20 stuff. And how you beat these maps the easy way is simply just out-level the content. Now, it doesn't really tell you the levels here. I wish it does. I think one good quality of life update that this game can do for at least in-game stuff is to tell you what level the enemies are to give you a better understanding of how the game works. But essentially, these things are like level 10, these are like level 20-ish. And you get a ship to level 20 or level 30, you'll blast through the first 2 chapters very easily, even without any gear. It's just that easy. So, for the most part, if you guys aren't familiar with that kind of system, think of it as like Nikkei and games like that, where you just out-level the content and you beat it. Like Pokemon, right? Oh, I'm struggling trying to beat Brock with a level 13 or 14 Onyx. Let me just get my Bulbasaur or Squirtle to level 14 and I'll just trash it. Similar like that. Similar to that. There's also like ships everywhere. Like, I think a lot of people get like a crazy amount of ships at the beginning that they don't know how to use. So we sort by time joined. I go all the way to the beginning or something like that. Ships like these, you'll be like, oh, Kimo, I have so many of these. I got like Hermes, Ajax, Arizona, Tennessee, Warspite. Which ships are good or whatever. I'll tell you, at the very early in the stage of the game, if you get a ship to like level 70, it's basically free because you don't have to limit break them. That will get you through the first maybe 6 chapters of the game. It is just that easy. All you need to do is get them to level 70. Like, for example, ships like, let's do levels. I have a couple of these, like these ships right here, right? Level 70, level 70. It costs 0 bullets. You get them to level 70, and boom, it's just that easy. There's no difficulty in the early stages of Azur Lane. It's mainly just understanding how the game works. And then once you understand how the game works, you just blast through the first couple chapters or whatever. I think this is where a lot of people ask for assistance on how to progress in the game or whatever. And for the most part, you just out-level, get some decent gear, or at least okay gear. Like, it has to be best in slot. And you'll just blast through the early game content. At this stage of the game is where a lot of people think, oh, Azur Lane is boring, there's not much content to offer. Yeah, that's basically most gacha games, if not like all of them, right? So that's the reason why. So early game, there's not much difficulty at all. Very easy. It's just understanding how the game mechanics work. Now, once we get into mid game, we're talking about from like levels chapter 8 or so to like chapter 12, maybe 13, and clearing event maps very frequently. At this stage of the game, it's also pretty easy. You may think like, oh, Kimo, I do event farming all the time. I do chapters 12 and 13 now. It gets pretty easy. I think some people may be tricked up a little bit going into like the later chapters of campaign, like chapters 12 and 13, because it involves more anti-air stuff. If you guys don't know how to focus on anti-air, a lot of anti-air can be done by just having a very strong vanguard with high anti-air. For example, like if we were to go up here, let's say a ship like Charybdis, 430 anti-air. That's how you do it. Very simple, right? So just building the proper ships, and basically you're good to go. I think the transition goes from just understanding how the game works for early game to transitioning to mid game, where we want to focus on ships with the correct stats and kits that is going to help you progress into the later stages of the game. A lot of people get stuck here because you're used to building like Laffy, or like Prince Ogan, and you have them at level 100 and like 10 or something, and you're asking, Kimo, I have these ships at 110, but I still can't do chapter 12 or whatever. Well, none of these ships have anti-air, my friend. You can't really do much here, right? So we went from early game to mid game. None of it is really difficult. It's just understanding games for the most part. I think a lot of games also have the same concept where there's not much hard content. It's about just understanding how the game works. However, now we're talking endgame. We're talking chapters 14, 15, hard arbiters, level 15 meta fights, EX fights. This is where the game goes to a different level. For the most part, you can auto everything in this game. I think as of right now, pretty much most of the fights, like 99.999% of the fights in this game can be auto. There are a couple EX fights where it's pretty much impossible to auto, but for every like non-limited stuff, everything can be autoed. I know it sounds weird, but it can. Hard arbiters, meta 15s, all that stuff can be full autoed. Even some EX fights can be full autoed as well too. But at this stage of the game is where a lot of people consider it difficult because it requires you to have 125 ships. 125 is a very time-gated thing in the game because it uses cog arrays. If you guys don't know what cog arrays are, you click on a 120 ship, you click this, boom. This is very, very limited. You don't get much of these at all. Playing for about 6 years now, and I have this much to spare. That's basically like 50 125 ships. You don't get many of these. These are very, very high priority whenever you see them because they're very, very limited. So at 125, you're looking to get also really good gear as well too. You have to have a good understanding of how gear works in order to know what gear is best for your certain ships. Most people don't really look at this. They just copy guides or whatever, which is perfectly fine because the gear system in Azur Lane is pretty complex. Sometimes I look at stuff too because I'm like, I'm not trying to figure out like what's the time stuff or whatever. We'll figure it out later. But for the most part though, if you guys understand gear, that's great. That makes it easier for you because you don't have to like look up every detail how to build a specific composition or whatever. But if you guys don't, just copy someone else. For the most part, it works out. Just copy like a YouTube video or something, or someone posts guides if they cleared or whatever, and then that should work for you. But at this point, you know, team compositions like using proper fleets like Helena, Kazugumo, ships like these, Plymouth, and having near best in slots, if not best in slots, especially at plus 13. Guys, I don't know how to stress enough that plus 13 is a very, very important upgrade. I tell everyone this. Get gold plates because plus 13 gear from plus 10 is massive. It's very, very important that you guys focus on plus 13 gear because having this makes your damage go up, meaning you can clear content much faster and safer because your ships won't sink, will have a less chance of sinking because you end the fight faster. So stuff like that. And for the most part, having this best gear, good ships, good compositions can clear most of the content in this game. But when we get to EX fights, some EX fights are just really, really hard, and that's where game mechanics come in. I know a lot of people don't play manual in Azur Lane, but Azur Lane does have a lot of in-depth manual mechanics. I have a full list of videos about this in my early Operation Siren videos, but there are a lot of mechanics for manual gameplay. There's airstrike clearing, there's corner hugging, there's Vanguard hitbox manipulation, which is where you go like left and right or up and down like very, very fast if you guys are playing on like keyboard or something, and it makes your hitbox of your Vanguard very small compared to just dragging them along because all your Vanguards would go in a straight line, right? By going left and right multiple times, it keeps the hitbox of your Vanguards very, very small. There's also quick tapping for battleships, where if you guys are in the middle of a tough fight where you can't really focus your shots with your BB salvos, use quick tap the auto and manual button, like double click that, and then it'll just fire automatically. There's a lot of mechanics in this game that can be utilized if the game devs actually want to go that route. For the most part, you're going to use these mechanics in EX fights, and that's optional. Otherwise, if they ever come to the point where they want to add like super hard content, then those mechanics will be very, very important. But for them now, there's none of that, so it's not a big deal. So overall, Azur Lane is a pretty easy game. If you guys are casual, this game is super, super breezy easy. Like I'm talking like sleeper, just press auto and just clear everything else. But when it comes to like the end game stuff, A couple of it does involve using some manual gameplay or some kind of knowledge of how to build proper fleets and other gear, but you can copy for the most part, and even then you can still auto that. But when you guys get to that stage of the game, at that point the only hard content where it requires you to use some kind of brain is going to be EX mode. So that's my little ramble for you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Azur Lane is an easy game for the most part. It's a grindy one, but it's a very easy game. Out of all the gacha games I played recently, Azur Lane is definitely up there for easy one. Arknights is like a little bit difficult back when I played it. Nikke when you're pushing under level is super hard. It's so annoying. But Wuthering Waves, alright. Blue Archive can be pretty rough, I think, if you push raids or whatever. But I think Azur Lane, where it stands right now, is good difficulty for most players. It's just when you get to the upper echelon of stuff, it may be a little bit difficult if you guys don't have the proper fleets or whatever. So yeah, anyways, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know what you guys think about the difficulty of Azur Lane, whether it's too hard, it's too easy, what you guys want to see added into the game, stuff like that. And I'll read all through that. So thank you guys for watching. I'm out of here. See you guys next video. Peace out.